Have you ever been in that place, you come home from work and the house is a mess and you almost don't want to be there and you're yelling at the kids and you're yelling at your spouse because your environment's a mess, but it's like your inside is a mess and your emotions are a mess, and nobody likes to live like that.
Welcome to the Only You Forever podcast. If you want to build a thriving, passionate marriage, we've got the research, the truth, and the answers you've been looking for. And now, here are your hosts, Caleb and Verlinda Simone Gendel.
Hey everybody, this is episode number 66, and in today's show, Verlinda interviews FlyLady about housekeeping for newlyweds and
not so newly.
Yeah, those that have been married a while.
Yeah.
So here's why we address this. Number one, and this is going to come across as stereotypical.
Okay, so I'll say it.
Okay.
This is a major stressor for young wives.
Right. And part of establishing a new household is agreeing on who does what.
Yeah, like we talk about role division. I think
Right.
it's episode 56.
Yeah.
And
that's where we take care of that.
yeah.
But this is about now you've role divided. How are you going to do what you got to do?
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, like that segue, hey?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's some research here. We're going to cover that off because we're making a case for this, and then we're going to jump straight into this interview, which is a longer episode,
Yeah.
but you're going to like
so
it.
worth it.
Yep. The research points out that wives are more sensitive to the home environment.
Yeah.
They are. And I'm not going to get into gender issues. I'm just going to take it for what it says, okay?
Okay.
Because that would be a whole different discussion. So a study by Saxby in 2010 found that wives who described their homes as more restorative, as in they enjoyed their home environment, they had lower stress levels and less depressed mood across the day.
Yeah.
So there's a correlation there. Conversely, wives who described their homes as more stressful had indicators through cortisol levels, which is a stress hormone in the blood. Mm-hmm. They had indicators of chronic stress, and those indicators are typically associated with adverse health outcomes over the long term.
Yeah.
And for husbands, it was pretty much a null result. So the conclusion that the researchers came to is that wives feel more responsibility for the home environment. And as I said, let's park the gender issues for a moment and look at the next article that brings this into our subject area of marriage.
Okay.
So when the researchers in the previous study measured wives, there was the same researchers, different study, measured wives who had more stressful homes, they found what is called a flatter slope of diurnal cortisol.
And in English, that says?
Well, they measure the stress hormone in your blood.
Yeah.
And, I think we talked about this in episode 38 where we interviewed Sean Stevenson about sleep.
Oh, okay.
And to be honest, I can't remember how this goes, but either your cortisol spikes in the morning and tapers off during the day, or else it slowly climbs.
No, it spikes and then tapers off.
Spikes and then tapers off. Okay.
And that's why you can sleep again at night.
Okay. So with wives with more stressful homes, instead of it spiking, it was just more flat.
So it spiked and it stayed there.
I don't know if it spiked or if it just stayed flat.
Oh, okay.
Something like that. It wasn't right.
Okay.
That's the point. It wasn't right.
Gotcha.
And as I mentioned, that's linked to adverse health outcomes.
Yeah.
So here's another study involving one of the same researchers who found an association between wives' marital satisfaction and this flatter slope of diurnal cortisol, the graph not looking right.
Yeah.
Now, correlation doesn't imply causation.
Right.
That's what we say about research.
Yeah.
But I think it's reasonable to conclude that if you find your home environment stressful, particularly as a wife, you're likely to have decreased marital satisfaction.
Wow.
Yes. There's a correlation there. And the converse is true as well, the opposite. So at the end of the day, I have a bias here. And my bias is I'm trying to make the case that taking care of your home is another way of taking care of your marriage. And I'm not imposing this on wives. I'm just speaking to spouses.
Right. Oh, I think that's so true, though.
How so?
Well, it doesn't matter who takes care of the home necessarily.
Yeah.
But
just getting it taken care of.
Yeah.
Even if you hired it out.
Yeah. It just creates that relaxing atmosphere that you can come home to and just be together in.
Yeah. So this is where we want our listeners to take this seriously, figure out what you need to do and how you want to divide the responsibilities up. And again, we covered that in 56, one of our least popular episodes.
I wonder why.
Called Housework. Who does the cleaning up? I can't imagine why nobody downloaded that. Mm-hmm. Yes. And for Verlinda and I, we find this to be true, that mess equals stress.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's interesting is other research we identified that this theme carries over even to parenting. Mm-hmm. And again, findings show that maladaptive parenting styles and child emotionality both increase in cluttered homes.
Okay, so what's maladaptive parenting?
It's parenting in ways that you're not proud of.
Okay.
And your child's emotionality, both
Reacts
those
to
things
that.
increase in cluttered homes.
Okay.
And there's a mediating factor, though, maternal tenseness. So the more stressed you are about this in particular kind of accentuates this problem.
Okay.
So the case that we're trying to make here is that creating a home environment that is peaceful, has some sense of serenity and calm, is a blessing to your marriage and your family.
Yeah.
So, which leads us to the interview, to ask her this question: how can we help young couples get their homes decluttered and keep them tidy?
Keep them peaceful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, that's quite a long interview.
It is. And so we've created a bonus that we'd like to email you to help you incorporate all these ideas FlyLady gives into your marriage. And we're offering a full PDF transcript of the interview. We all know that audio is good, but both hearing and seeing sticks in our minds so much better. And, FlyLady said herself during the interview that she's never laid out all her methods like this in one spot before. So this is something you won't want to miss. To receive the PDF download, simply text the word podcast to 9292 spouse and follow the directions there, and we'll get you set up with that PDF download. And once again, all you need to do is text 9292 and the word spouse on your smartphone and type the word podcast. That's way too confusing.
Yeah, I think you got it. So again, it's a longer episode, but FlyLady gave Verlinda some masterful content here. In fact, you already mentioned that, but she said this is one of her sort of largest downloads of information in one spot.
So that's full picture of her system in one place.
So it's a very special interview. We're super thankful to FlyLady. Her real name is Marla Cilley, spelled Cilley. Now, we're super thankful for her providing such awesome content for our listeners.
So, FlyLady, I am so excited to have you on our show today. You've been my role model for many years, and just before I start asking you some questions, I want to give our listeners a bit of my story, as I'm sure many of them will be able to relate. So I came from a home where my mom did everything, and I really didn't have a clue how much my mom did or how everything got done. And so add a couple of years of marriage to that and a new house and a new baby, and I was absolutely overwhelmed. And I can remember, this was in 2002. I can remember standing at the top of my stairs, talking to a friend who was dropping off some work for me to do. And she gave me the wise counsel of check out FlyLady.net. And I tell you, that moment changed my life. I can remember a short while after that, we had an impromptu supper with some neighbors at our house. And my husband turned to me and said, now this is FlyLady. So FlyLady, because you were such a help to me, I want to share your message with our listeners. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, honey, you did all the work. You did it. You took it into your heart and you started doing the things to relieve that overwhelmedness in your life, because that's what happens to us. We have a baby and things start changing, and these poor little girls have been, raised by women who were raised by women who were perfectionists. Yeah. And that's why your mother never let you do anything or never taught you anything, because you couldn't do it to suit her, so she might as well do it herself.
Yeah, it could be. Either that or that was her way of showing her love, and she just did it.
But when you love your child, you don't want them to go out into the world without life skills.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But I just want to thank you publicly for being that flame under me to get me going and pointing me in the right direction, because then I could move.
Sometimes all we need is somebody to tell us what to do.
Yes.
As much as we rebel against it, we just need somebody to say, go shine your sink, go make your bed, swish and swipe your bathroom. These little things are just going to start to relieve that stress that you have put on yourself because you're not perfect.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to change direction a little bit here. I'm assuming FlyLady's not actually on your birth certificate. So before we get down to the nitty-gritty, can you tell us a bit of your story on how you got to be FlyLady?
Well, many years ago, in the early 1990s, I got a divorce. The first things I did after this divorce was I wanted to learn how to fly fish.
Okay.
So I took lessons, and then I taught other people how to fly fish. And that's kind of how I got my nickname, FlyLady, is from fly fishing. And if you look real closely at my cartoon character, she has a fly rod in her hand.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's how I got my nickname. Now, how FlyLady started, how it evolved from fly fishing to, being bossy. It sort of took up, in 1999, I woke up on New Year's Day like every other red-blooded female in the world, and I was determined to get organized. And I made that New Year's resolution. I'm going to get organized this year. And I sat down trying to figure out, I live in North Carolina, the southern part of the states, and what we say in the South is whatever you do on New Year's Day, you're going to do every day for the rest of the year. So Southern women don't do dishes. They don't do laundry. They do their best to, try to be calm, collected, and relaxed all day. Well, that day I sat down with my card file system that had worked for me for a little while in the past and tried to figure out why I had never been able to be organized. And what came to me that day after sorting these cards and doing everything was that I had never established a habit.
Okay.
So that's when I sat down and tried to figure out how many habits I was going to try to establish for the month of January. And I realized at that point in time that I was piling on and being mean to myself and then beating myself up because that's what had always happened, because I tried to do too much too fast.
Yeah.
And I realized I just needed to establish one habit, and I picked shining my kitchen sink.
So why that one?
Why that one? Oh, that's such a good question. 1996, Robert and I got married, and when he asked me to marry him, he said, I don't need a laundry person. I don't need somebody to clean the house. I don't need somebody to cook for me. I can do that. And if my arm ain't broken, and he said, if it is broke, I can hire somebody. And I said, okay. So he said, I want you to be my life partner. And that automatically lays all this guilt on me because I wasn't a good housekeeper. I hated to do laundry. I'm a pretty good cook, but I don't cook often. Robert says it's better to have a wife that can cook and doesn't cook often than one that can't cook and cooks all the time.
Okay.
So I just felt this major guilt come over me because I was not this great housekeeper, because he deserved to have a wife that took care of him. He worked long hours as a judge, and he's been retired for 6 years, so we have a lot of, I had to go to work at the office.
Okay.
To get out of his way.
Some space.
So the one thing that he wanted, and we've been real honest with each other, I'll never forget him running out into my garden when I was pulling weeds or something. He said, there's something about the washing machine. When you put the laundry detergent in there, please don't put it on top of the agitator and get it all mungy with the powdery stuff. I've learned that I use liquid now, so that doesn't happen. But, he told me that. And then he says, honey, if you keep one side of the sink, in the States we have two double sinks.
Yeah.
He said, if you'll just keep one side of the sink open, I'll make you coffee.
Oh.
Guess who made me coffee this morning? He makes me a cup of coffee every morning. It either goes with me to the office or I've got it right here on the table beside me.
Yeah.
He just needed a way to get a drink of water and keep the sink empty. So I thought, well, if I've got to pick a habit out of these 50 things that I do every day, because when I sorted the cards into daily, weekly, and monthly cards, it was 50 things. And I thought, well, I'll make a list, because I couldn't do that stack of cards.
No.
And so I'll just make a list. And I thought, well, I could do the list and put them in chronological order. Well, it was too much. It was just, I was overwhelmed before I ever got started. So I just picked one thing. And I knew that keeping that sink clean and shiny would make him happy. Now, when we remodeled our house in 2000, the place I put my kitchen sink was the place we had our very first date. So the kitchen sink is kind of like a symbol of our relationship, because that's where we sat at a card table, and I had cooked for him the very first time. And so it's a great symbol for me and our love. So, yeah, I think the shiny sink.
That's neat. And that habit how did that carry you to where you are today?
That was the only habit I practiced for the month of January. But from that habit, the sink, I don't care if you've got a sink full of dishes. I'm talking to the listener now. If you've got a sink full of dishes and you can't even stick your hand down in there because of the mystery water and the stuff floating on top, grab some tongs and let's get the water out of there. Get a bucket and start putting all the dishes in it and set it down on the floor. And I want you to scrub that sink. Get some cleanser, baking soda, whatever you like to use, and maybe some steel wool. Or we have SOS pads that have some cleaner in them in the States, and let's scrub that sink. If it's really bad, rinse it really well after you've done all that, and let's put half a cup of bleach in it. If you don't like to use chemicals, let's put some elbow grease in it and into scrubbing a little bit. I had to take a knife to our sink. Robert had built the house in the 70s when he was a bachelor, and we have hard water. And there was crusted lime scale around it and around the faucets, and I ended up with a knife and a chisel getting some of that off. But when I got through, that sink was so pretty.
Yeah.
It looked like a brand new penny, and it made me smile. And I didn't know how much it was going to bless me until I got up the next morning and I wasn't greeted with that nasty water.
Oh, yeah.
It gave me hope.
That's great. Okay, we've just kind of gone over how a stressful environment can decrease our marital satisfaction. So I wanted to go into how can we make our homes more pleasant to be in so that we can make our marriages more pleasant to be in. So I think you've just started us off with a shiny sink and shining our sink. What's next?
Well, the whole process of flying, is what we call it.
Yeah.
It all, people come to me to get their house in order, but they don't realize that they're going to find out how to love themselves.
Okay.
And that's what FlyLady stands for now. It's evolved to finally loving yourself. And I want you to take care of yourself, because if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy in the house. And if nobody's happy, the marriage suffers, the relationship with the children, everything is just thrown, it's awful. It's upside down. It's not what we need. So with that shiny sink, the whole kitchen got clean. But my only chore, and I hate those words, my only thing to do was to shine that sink. The countertops got cleaned. Dishwasher got empty because you needed a dirty dish disposal unit. And it just worked around the kitchen. And when the kitchen's clean, you don't mind cooking. So that relieves that guilt of feeding your child pizza again and your husband,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's all about relieving this guilt. And when mommy and wife when we're guiltless, guilt-free, we're happier.
Yeah.
And that happy reflects on the rest of the home.
Yeah. So just being kind to ourselves, and just rather than having the whole house have to be licked into shape in one day, just
so your home did not
routine.
Your home did not get messy in a day, and it's not going to get clean overnight. But we're going to break your home down into zones. We're going to give you simple missions each day so you never have to spring clean again. Mm-hmm. And you're going to establish simple habits, and we're going to string those simple habits into a morning routine, an afternoon routine, and a before-bed routine.
Okay. So you mentioned something, which I heard from you quite often, about crisis cleaning. Do you recommend that?
No.
Just to get it in shape the first time?
But if your mother-in-law's coming, yeah.
Okay.
If you've got to get the house in order, we're coming up on, you have a big holiday on July 1st?
July 1st, yeah.
Yeah. We have
not
a big
as big
holiday.
As your July 4th.
Yeah, but yeah, we're coming up on the 1st of July and our holidays, and if you've got company coming over, you really want to have them outside, because we all like to be outside for a barbecue.
Right.
But what if it rains? You got to bring them in the house.
What if they need to use the washroom?
Yeah. So you've got to have that bathroom clean. You've got to have the house, the main areas of the house presentable. You can lock your bedroom door and just dare people to go in there. So
yeah,
you might have to get the ice pick to open the door up to get in there at night to go to bed. But, get your main areas clean. And I recommend crisis cleaning for that. And that is just a simple focus. And we have a podcast on our website. If you click down at the very bottom of our website, FlyLady.net, there's in the fine print at the bottom, there's a radio, and click on radio, and there are the FlyLady tools at the bottom of that next page.
Okay.
And there's a crisis cleaning podcast, and it's an hour. And what it does is it teaches you to go into the kitchen. Start in the kitchen because that's the heart of the home. Set your timer for 15 minutes. And I can hear your listeners saying, 15 minutes isn't enough time. But what I want you to do is stay focused in the kitchen for 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Then I want you to set the timer for another 15 minutes and go into the living area and do 15 minutes. Clearing off your flat surfaces. As sidetrack people, we do not need flat surfaces. We need architect's desks that everything you put on would slide off.
Yes.
And our house would always look neat, and do 15 minutes in the living room. And then I want you to when that goes off, set the timer one more time for 15 minutes and go spend 15 minutes in the bathroom. And if you don't see staying focused, if you don't see a remarkable difference in the way your home looks after that 45 minutes, then I want you to set the timer one more time for 15 minutes. I want you to sit down, put your feet up, get you some water to drink, and, you got to be dressed to lace up shoes to do this because you're going to be working fast and furious and focused. Fast, furious, focused. Because your mother-in-law's coming over.
Yeah.
And then if you need to do it a second time, go through the 15 minutes a second time. But the most important part of this whole hour is the 15 minutes that you rest. Because you've got company coming. You do not want to be exhausted and look awful.
Yeah.
And then right before they get in the door, rest for 15 minutes and make sure you look presentable, that your hair is fixed and it's not sticking out like a rooster, and just, put your makeup on and put on some clean clothes. And you're the hostess with the mostest at that point.
Yeah.
But that's the only time I ever recommend crisis cleaning. Sometimes we need to see a little success, and staying focused will do that. It's kind of like shining the sea.
Yeah.
But it's not a way to live. When you start doing the FlyLady system with a morning, afternoon, and before bed routine, your house is practically going to be on automatic pilot.
Right. It'll never get to that chaotic state.
No, it will never. Your house will always be about 15 minutes away from company ready.
Yeah.
One time I did an interview with the Chicago Tribune, and I live out in the middle of the woods in the mountains of western North Carolina, and they called me up and said, "We're in the neighborhood."
Oh.
And I had to stay on the phone with them till they got to my house.
Oh, my.
Because that was before we had GPSs.
Yes.
And I was in my workout clothes, and all I had to do was dust mop my floors, and I was good to go.
Wow, that's pretty neat. That's a whole, so far from where we start, right, in that overwhelmed, chaotic state.
But it's not so far. It's not so far, because you can have success at this actually doing, instead of thinking about getting your home in order. Let's get up and do something about it.
Yeah.
And it's just that simple. People don't do it because they think they're doing it wrong. It's so simple. But it's stay focused on the kitchen, living room, the flat surfaces. We have a habit for just about everything. And as you build these habits together and form these routines, it's like a dance for your day. And when you're dancing around to music and having fun, cleaning, that's foreign to us, because when we were kids, we got punished. We had to clean up the bathroom because that was punishment. And when we get grown, after we've, spent our adolescence cleaning a nasty bathroom, we don't want to clean another bathroom. But we all deserve to have a bathroom that blesses us.
Yes.
That when you're hugging that ceramic toilet with the stomach virus, it's not grossing you out sicker than you are.
Yeah. I love your saying you can do anything for 15 minutes. Like, that has pushed me and inspired me and got me so much further than I ever would have got. And I have a timer, and if my timer breaks, it's the end of the world. Let me get another timer.
You don't have a backup? I have several backups.
Oh, well, I mean, I have my
going
phone, but
they're not the same.
No, they're not.
I had a testimonial this past week from a lady who tried using her phone, and it just wasn't the FlyLady timer that says you can do anything for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And when we hear ourselves say, I don't have time, we all do that every day.
Yes.
We tell our children that. We tell our husband that I don't have time right now. What we're really saying is I don't have time to do it right. It's our perfectionism talking.
Huh. Do you know what? This happened to me this happened to me just this morning. I had a batch of cookies in the oven, and I had 1 minute and 34 seconds left. And I thought, I don't have time for anything. And then your little voice popped in my head and said, do it now. And so I went, and I did my daughter's hair, and it was done by the time the timer went off. And I thought I could have stood at the stove for 1.5 minutes griping because I didn't have time to do anything. But instead, I got the next thing off my list, and, it didn't take as long as I thought.
Hey, have you seen those videos about the daddy who does the hair with the vacuum cleaner and sucks it all up in it?
Yeah, those are awesome.
Those are creative. I mean, that's all we have to do is let our creative side and our fun side of, beating a timer and trying to get things done. A lot of times I'll put something in the microwave, and while the microwave's going, that's my timer.
Yep.
Dust mop. While the coffee's going, I can feather dust the house. There's so many things that we can do instead of sitting there twiddling our thumbs. And if you want to get really creative, you could do some crunches or some wall push-ups while things are happening.
Yeah. But you know what? So often, for me anyways, it's like, I don't really have time for this. And so I waste it on my phone. I twiddle my thumb on my phone screen. And what a waste of time. I could have got something done.
Well, I try to use Facebook and Twitter, even though I use them for business, they're as rewards for that 15 minutes when you get to sit and rest.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah. So, and my phone never rings. The ringer it's for my benefit, and I don't like to hear it.
Okay.
So I just have my phone on silent, and I check it once an hour.
Yeah.
Because nothing's that important.
Right.
Because my husband's right here with me, and, my son can send me a text if he wants to, or they can call. If it's real important, they'll call the house phone.
Right. So you've just taken control of that area of your life, too.
Mm-hmm. My daughter-in-law actually puts her phone on no notifications while she's homeschooling.
Oh, okay.
That's a great feature on an iPhone. You can set up where you don't get any notifications. And I have mine set up from 9 at night to 9 in the morning to get no notifications.
Yeah.
But you can also have it where if it was somebody that's, you can pick whose call can get through.
Yeah. Okay. How do we get onto phones? I'm not sure. Anyway.
I don't know. We're talking about timers.
Timer. That's there we go. Yes.
And then you admitted that you could sit and twiddle. We all can do that. We can all get on our computers and spend hours.
Yeah.
But we've got to learn to give ourselves rewards and not feel guilty about doing it.
And if we've just worked for 45 minutes, we don't feel guilty.
Or 15.
That 15.
You can do 15 and 15.
Okay.
You'll get so much done. But when you hear yourself say, let's get back to this I don't have time stuff, just, what the peace sign is. You hold the peace sign up. Just do 2 minutes.
Oh.
You did 1.5 minutes this morning. Did your daughter's hair. It was done.
Yeah.
And it was less than 2 minutes, and it gave you peace.
Yeah.
2 minutes to peace. Every time you hear yourself say, I don't have time.
That's good.
That's behavior modification 101.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you tell us where our listeners can hear more about you and get more of your great content? Because I know it will be a huge blessing to them.
We have a website, FlyLady.net. We have a Facebook page, it's The FlyLady on Facebook.
Okay.
We have 2 different types of Twitter accounts. It's The FlyLady on Twitter, but we also have the plain FlyLady, just FlyLady on Twitter, that does a series of 24 reminders during the day. Reboot your laundry, what's for dinner, have you had any water, have you eaten lunch?
Yeah.
All these things about taking care of you. And you can set up these notifications to come to your phone just like you set them up on your calendar to remind you to do things. This is how I got organized. Was I had a Palm Pilot back in the day.
Yes.
And I set up all these daily reminders, and they changed my life.
Okay.
I didn't have a FlyLady.
Right, but just following through everything that came up.
It's all about taking baby steps. We want to get it all clean at once. We want to spend 8 hours and have our house spotless. But guess what? The next day it's going to fall apart if you don't have these routines in place.
Yeah, so how do you maintain it then so you're not back in the same chaos after a week?
Psychologists tell us, and you like to look at all this research. I don't know if anybody's actually done this research, but here's what I've found.
Okay.
Psychologists tell us it takes 21 days to establish a habit. Well, I think they're telling a story.
Okay.
Because 80% of us are perfectionists. Oh, I think 100% of us are perfectionists, but 80% of us are not OCD. When we get up to that line and we say we have to do it, we don't think we have time, so we back away. The person that is born organized goes overboard and can spend 3 hours doing the grout in their shower.
Okay.
So we're the same person, we just go about things a little differently. So the born organized person needs to rest, and the sidetracked person needs to get up and do something instead of saying, I can't all the time.
Right.
Now, what we have to do, where was I going with this? I got sidetracked.
Yeah. So how do we maintain so we don't get back in the same chaos?
How we maintain is establishing these simple habits, one at a time. We practice one habit a month. January, our habit is keeping our sink clean and shiny. February is decluttering 15 minutes a day because we have so much clutter in our house. We can't move because we have so much clutter. And when you have a smaller home, the clutter just closes in on you. We're holding on to things because we don't think we think we might need it one day. And so the March's habit is getting dressed to lace up shoes. Well, I want you to do that in the beginning, but we're really going to practice it in March.
Oh, okay.
And these are the 3 habits that you start with, whether it's December or June. It's getting dressed to lace up shoes, keeping your sink clean and shiny, and decluttering 15 minutes a day.
Okay.
Now,
And that just gets you started.
That gets you started. April's habit is making your bed every day. When you walk back in your bedroom and your bed is made, that's such a wonderful feeling.
It is. It's such a blessing.
And you don't even know you've done it, especially if you have a race with yourself to go to the bathroom. When you get up in the morning, you really need to go to the bathroom. So at night, before as you turn your bed down, you turn it down in such a way that all you have to do is make a snow angel under the covers, slide out the side, and pull the bedspread up.
Oh, okay.
And you make it fast and fun.
Yep.
Then May's habit is literally moving your body for 15 minutes every day. Set your timer for 7.5 minutes, walk around the house, and turn around and go the other direction. Then June, which is the habit we're in this month, is drinking your water. I have 2 bottles of water right beside me that I've just filled up. I will need to fill them up 3 times today. And I keep those scrunchies that you put in your daughter's hair to make a ponytail. I keep 6 of them on there so that I can see how I roll them up as I've finished 1 bottle of water.
Okay.
Then there are July is swish and swipe. Now, we hate nasty bathrooms, and we never clean our own bathroom. Which this week we're in the master bathroom and closet. So we're going to declutter some in the closet. We're going to get our bathrooms in pristine order because we deserve that. And our beds are going to be made. The room's going to be dusted. It's going to be beautiful. Well, swishing and swiping only takes less than a minute. You get up in the morning, you head straight to the bathroom. And while you're in the bathroom, you put your makeup on, you put it away. If you've got too much stuff under your bathroom sink, declutter some of that so you can put a basket with your makeup in it. So that you don't walk in the bathroom and you scare yourself. It's all about loving yourself. You want to enjoy what you're looking at in that mirror. Then you wipe down the mirror, you wipe down the counters, wipe out the sink, you head over to the potty, and I keep some baby wipes there that I can wipe down the seat. And if you have little boys, you might have to have some Purex wipes or something to wipe the floor. And we want to teach them how to do it, and we want to teach the little boys how to aim. So you might need a little canister of Cheerios to put in the toilet. So boys love to hit stuff. And they have the great aiming tool.
Yeah.
That's how we that's how we potty train them. It still works when they're adults. I promise.
You still use Cheerios?
Yeah, you can still use Cheerios or Fruit Loops because they're colored, you know?
Right, yeah.
So it's all about making a game out of everything. And it's finding this joy in the simple things, setting the timer, hearing that timer go off and realizing, oh, I get to take a break now. I'm taking care of myself. Yeah, this is what it's all about. So that's July, swish and swipe. I'll get back on track. August is laundry.
Laundry.
We hate laundry. But if you will do a load a day from start to finish, if you have too many clothes, it's hard because you want to mess up all the clothes before you have to do the laundry. And then you're wearing things, the kids are putting on things that are too little. Part of doing the laundry is weeding out the stuff they can't wear anymore and blessing someone else with it. And quit holding on to clothing for children that haven't even been conceived yet.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's get that clothing out of your house. Your child that you have in front of you needs a room that blesses them with empty drawers and a place to put things. When their cabinets and closets and drawers are all full of clothes that don't fit them anymore, you're pushing your child out of their room.
Yeah.
So let's clean out a drawer for every person in your home so that you have a place to put their clothing and you're not living out of the laundry basket. Because you know the minute you start pulling clothes and living out of that laundry basket, that's when the cat's going to get in there and leave you a present. And the laundry has to be done over again.
Over again, yeah.
But if it's in a drawer, that doesn't happen. It's got a place to put away.
Yeah.
September's habit is real simple. It's practicing your before-bed routine. That is the most important routine of the day. Because with that before-bed routine, it gets you jump-started for the next day. You pick out your clothes the night before so that they're late. I have mine on a hanger on my bathroom door. And you can get these hooks that go over your door, and you can put all your weeks of clothes on, a hanger for each one. Some people like to take a note card and put a hole in it and mark Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. All the clothes, you're doing the whole outfit together. Put it back together instead of piles of shirts and piles of pants.
Okay.
Put the whole outfit together. For the kids, do it for all the way down to socks and hair bows. There's nothing worse than hunting for a pair of socks.
Yes, when the bus is sitting in the driveway.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's put the whole outfit together so that we don't have to search for anything. We sell a closet organizer that is just like a sweater organizer, but it's got the days of the week on it that can go in your children's closet and have their whole outfits together.
Okay.
It makes it so easy. So doing a load of laundry a day and processing it start to finish, and then as part of your before-bed routine, taking the dirty clothes off and sorting them so that you can wash them.
Yeah. And
guess what? Nowadays, you really don't have to watch colors. They don't bleed as much. There's actually detergent that keeps things from bleeding.
Right.
So you could do all of one kid's laundry on one day.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And put the whole outfits back together. It saves you from having to think. Then when we do our before-bed routine, it's so easy to pick out our clothes for the next day. Check your calendar. If you don't have a calendar that's big enough for you to put your menu plan and that sort of thing on it, get one off my website. They're amazing. It's huge.
Yep.
And there's plenty of room for everything. And then that before-bed routine, you check the weather. You live in Canada. You have to check the weather.
Yep.
It's going to get sub-zero, or it's, you're going to have the flies bothering you. You got to know what you got to have,
Yep. Yep.
So that before bed routine is so important to know that, say, you have a doctor's appointment at 8 o'clock in the morning. Well, you get up at 6 o'clock or 6:30 and you forget about the doctor's appointment. Take a dry erase marker and write it on your mirror, right in the middle of your bathroom mirror.
Oh.
So that you can remember that you've got something you've got to do first thing this morning. Or I don't like early morning appointments ever.
No.
I like 2 o'clock appointments so that I understand how my mind works. There's things I want to get done in the morning, and getting out of the house is not one of them.
Yep.
Then, let's see, we're September. October is paper clutter. Boy, do we love paper.
Yeah. Why do we love paper?
Paper, we're scared to let go of it. It's our perfectionism.
Oh, okay.
We're scared somebody's going to get our identity, so we hold on to this paper. Well, nowadays, people are building these fire pits in their backyards.
Yep.
They're building nice little ways to build this evening campfire so they can get out there and play. What a great way to get rid of that stuff that you're afraid of.
Mm-hmm.
That someone might steal out of the trash. And if you haven't, this is the only appliance I ever tell a husband that he has permission to buy for his wife. It's an industrial shredder.
Okay.
It's the only appliance with a cord. You don't give electrical things to women.
No.
For presents. But this is the one gift that you could give her that would make her life so much easier, is a shredder. And kids love to shred stuff. You kind of have to watch them, but they love to put that stuff in and get it sucked down. And you have to stand over them. But if you'll get a shredder, and things have to earn the right to come into the house.
Okay.
Keep it in your garage, wherever you park your car, so that you can, or right by the front door, when you walk in the door, you look at the mail and you process it right there, because 95% of it is trash.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And get rid of it. Now, if you don't mind recycling, but, we get credit card applications all the time, and that stuff goes in our fireplace. We just light it off one cool morning in the summer, and, it all gets eat up with the fire. Yeah. So it's just so much better not having to worry about somebody stealing your identity.
Okay.
And then November is menu planning month.
Oh, that is the best.
Menu planning is the only way we save any real money. It's the only disposable. That's where we can get the most bang for our buck, is menu planning. And if you will clean out your refrigerator on Wednesdays, that's our day to clean out a refrigerator, so that you can see what you have in there that needs to be used.
Yeah.
I like to do something great. Get your crock pot out, and let's just start emptying those little condiment bottles and the different things that you have in the refrigerator. Let's clean out that stuff, put it in, empty it into your crock pot, throw some chicken thighs in there, some chicken legs, and little bits of jelly, barbecue sauce, ketchup, all kinds of things. And you can have mystery chicken.
Okay.
And it works. Other things you can do in the wintertime is make a big pot of soup, cleaning out the stuff in your refrigerator. My grandmother, I remember growing up, when we had milk cartons, and she would clean out a milk carton and, just 2 tablespoons of butter beans that were left at dinner, or, a half a cup of corn. Yeah. All that stuff would go, it was in the door of her freezer, and she would put this in there, and at the end of the week, she would have this whole little, instead of throwing it out, she would have this canister, this carton full of frozen veggies that she could just put into her soup.
Her soup. Huh.
It was her soup mix. Yeah. But it's the process of having a place for it, knowing what you're going to do with it instead of throwing it out. Yeah. And it just makes it, with cornbread, and I grew up in the South, so we made biscuits and cornbread, and she would save those and put them into bread wrappers and put them in the freezer. And then when it came time to make Sunday dinner, and she would do chicken and dressing and that sort of thing, she would have everything she needed to do that. They never wasted anything. She grew up in the Depression. She raised a family with the Depression, just coming out of the Depression. Yeah. And so they saved everything. which it's wonderful. Let's cook meals with leftovers so that we can have lunches for tomorrow, and we're not having to go out and waste time ordering sandwiches when we can have, leftover casserole or something wonderful. And people are going to be so jealous of you because you planned for these leftovers. The wonderful thing about menu planning is that it takes the worry, the stress off of your life, because I send out a reminder that says, what's for dinner at 10 o'clock in the morning? You can set it up on your phone to remind yourself what's for dinner every single day. Mm-hmm. And utilize the technology we have. It's so wonderful. In 15 minutes, you can set up so many reminders that will keep you from forgetting and standing in front of the refrigerator at 6 o'clock at night thinking, what am I going to cook?
Yeah.
But if you've looked at your schedule for the next week, if you start on Wednesday planning these menus, and if you've never menu planned, just start keeping a diary on your calendar of what you cook every day, or what you order and it comes in, because you can make homemade pizzas just as easily as you can buy them.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just a matter of having the food in the house, and if you plan for it, you'll purchase it, and if it's in the house, you can cook it without any problem.
Right, yeah.
So that's November. And December, in October, we start our cruising through the holidays, which is a fun way to get everything done for the holidays by December 1st. So when December 1st rolls around, I want you to spend the month playing with your children or with your grandchildren, or just having fun with yourself, going to the Christmas things that you like to do, and not being stressed out, wrapping presents in the car on the way to grandmama's house. I've actually done that in a little Miata, tiny car, and it's not fun.
No.
So when we get the holidays taken care of, we have a free holiday control journal that's downloadable. It's just there for you to help guide you through this process. And our goal is to be through the day after, we call it Black Friday here, by Friday after our Thanksgiving. Yeah. Your Thanksgiving is in October. Ours is in November, and we try to be done by that time. And it's just a week prior to December. And that whole month, you're taking care of yourself. You're getting your nails done. This is your Christmas present to you.
Yeah. And what a blessing that is. Our holiday seasons have changed thanks to you.
It's so much different, isn't it?
Yeah. So much more peaceful, not so stressful.
And when you're peaceful, when you're not having, and you brought this up earlier before we did the show, when those cortisol levels drop and the stress, the adrenaline running through, we've been living off of adrenaline most of our lives. Yeah. And we don't know the havoc that it's playing with our immune system. I believe with all my heart, if I can slow people down and get rid of the pressure that they put on themselves from perfectionism, that we can cure the autoimmune diseases in our lives.
Okay. Just by slowing down and taking care of ourselves.
Getting rid of that adrenaline, that stress level.
Stress, yep.
God gave me, I'm allergic to my own adrenaline.
Oh, wow.
I don't metabolize it well. So if I get in too big of a tizzy, I will pass out.
Wow.
And I think I was given that to help me to realize that the stress that I put on myself, and this happened to me one time. My gynecologist and my physician's assistant, we were in a book group, and they were coming to my house, and I was rushing around in a tizzy like a chicken with its head cut off. Mm-hmm. And I get out we have a screened-in place for Robert to go hide from me being on the phone. It's a 12 by 12 screened-in, we call it the treehouse. Okay. And there's room in there for people to sit around, and we were going to have book group out there. And I walk out there with the wine glasses and a bottle of wine, and I set the tray down. And my doctor is sitting right here, and I grabbed his hand, and I said, I'm going down. And I had gotten in a tizzy with adrenaline, and I ended up, I can tell when I'm getting ready to faint, and I sat down on the floor, I laid back, they put my feet up in the air, and I blacked out. And the next thing I know, somebody's taking my pulse on one hand, my husband's got my other hand, and the physician's assistant that I see all the time, he's got my ankles up in the air taking my pulse in my...
Oh, my dear.
And it's all because I put too much stress on myself.
Okay.
And when we can relieve that intravenous feed of adrenaline, now when we need adrenaline, by golly, we need it. When we need to pick the car up off the baby, we can do it.
Yeah.
But when we're depleting that adrenaline on a daily basis, it's not there when we really need it.
Okay.
And when we can calm ourselves, we're going to release that stress.
Yeah.
And just slow and steady is all I want you to do. Slow and steady.
Yeah. And if you relieve that stress on yourself, what a difference that makes in your marriage.
Oh.
And who your husband's coming home to, and if you have children, who your children are trying to cope with.
I mean, when you treat your husband as if they're a child in the family, you are doing such a disservice to your marriage.
Yeah.
And when we don't get enough sleep at night, we know what happens when our babies don't get their sleep and don't get their nap.
Yeah.
What happens to us? We're just as bad.
Yeah.
Our mouths can be wicked.
Yeah.
And we have got to start going to bed at a decent hour. And, I'm talking to myself, too, because I just get going about midnight.
Oh, my dear. Okay.
But I get to sleep till 9 in the morning, too.
Oh, okay.
So it's not like I have to be at the office. We have 3 dogs and 2 cats, and I wear earplugs at night, so they don't keep me up. They get my husband up, but they don't keep me up. I get my 8 to 9 hours every night.
Okay.
And I am raring to go first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
But if you're only getting 5 hours worth of sleep, it's going to catch up with you.
Yeah, for sure.
You're going to get a bad headache. You're going to get a sinus infection. All of these things are going to happen because you're not getting the rest that your body needs to renew.
Yeah. Well, that's great.
So have I bossed you enough today?
Well, I definitely have my challenges laid out for the rest of the day, I think. But I think that's great, just like loving yourself and starting small and establishing that habit. And there's so many great resources on FlyLady.net of how we can do that and where to go next, and just to give us that kickstart that we need. So thank you so much, Marla, for coming and talking with us and giving our listeners all this great content and great ideas.
Well, when the show airs, please tell me how I can let my people know about it, because we've done a great service for people today. I just feel like we've laid it all out there for them.
Yeah.
In a way that I've never done before.
Oh, okay.
In a fun way, and I would love to share the link with them or how they could listen to it.
Okay.
Maybe even give me how to get to your website and your blog, and I would love to share that.
Sure. Do you know what? I will email you all of that. I think it'll probably be the easiest thing to do. And
that'll be good.
Yeah, and I'll make up show notes and have all your links in that as well, and I'll send you the link for that blog post too.
That'd be great. I think our listeners will love it, and your listeners, I hope you got something out of it if you hadn't heard about me before. We just want to help you. We want to help you to be the best mommy, the best wife you could possibly be, but we got to get rid of your perfectionism to do that.
Right. That's great. Okay, well, thank you again, FlyLady.
You're welcome. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Well, that was an amazing interview, Verlinda. You did great there, and Marla really delivered big time.
Mm-hmm. Marla, I know you'll be listening to this, so thank you so much for adding such tremendous value to our listeners. Remember to check out FlyLady.net, and also all of the links and resources mentioned in this episode you can find on our website at oyf.link/66.
Finally, remember that you can get the bonus PDF transcript of the entire interview by texting the word podcast to 9292 spouse. Just type that right into your phone. No spaces or anything, 9292 spouse. And we'll send you some text backs just with directions. Follow that through, and we'll get you a link to that transcript.
So that's all for today's episode. If you found it helpful, please leave us a review on iTunes today, as this helps us reach and influence more marriages by raising the visibility of our podcast in iTunes, and gives us the warm fuzzies too. Thanks, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to the OnlyYouForever.com podcast. Please help us reach and influence a wider audience by rating and reviewing our podcast at OnlyYouForever.com/love. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
That was an amazing interview, Verlinda.
No, I'm supposed to say that, not you.
Oh.
I think we might have a blooper section now.
No.
No, I think that was a good one, don't you?
Oh, that was awesome.
When you married me, you waived your right to remove things from the blooper section.